please consider supporting the channel by becoming a YouTube member. It's only 99 cents a month, and even that little amount can make a big difference. If you would like to support the channel further and gain access to special content, events, features, and merchandise that are only available to patrons, please join us over at Patreon at patreon.trek-world.com. In the 1970s, there were a series of books that were produced that we all bought. Every Gen 1 fan had them. They may not be in your current collection today. They were books that would no longer be reprinted after 1980 because of the licensing agreement with Pocket Books, and they usually stayed pretty well dated to the 1970s. We all had them. You'll recognize each and every one of them, but you may not still have it today. The one I'm going to look at now, The Making of the Star Trek Conventions by Joan Winston. Now, of the books that have been written in the 1970s, and some of them were some pretty good ones, you know, The World of Star Trek, The Trouble with Tribbles by David Gerald. This little guy right here, I think, is mandatory reading. If you don't have it, go out, find it on eBay, find it on Amazon, buy it. You should be able to get it easily for under $10 because it tells the story of how they produced the first few Star Trek conventions. And I mean the first few organized, big New York City, can we borrow a spacesuit from NASA and display it kind of convention. It was only the first, I don't know, half a dozen or less that were actively produced by Joan and the committee. Don't get the committee confused with the Star Trek Welcome Committee. Even though they contained a lot of the same people, that was a very different organization. But after the first few handful of these conventions, the group pretty much split up and different conventions started growing up in different areas. Some were involved here, some were involved there. The stories of how they got the stars to appear, how they would ferry the stars to and from the ballroom, what they had to deal with when they expected 3,000 and got 5, and the fire marshal comes to pay them a visit in the middle of the con. There's some amazing stories. Somebody stole something off that said spacesuit. I believe it was a glove, if I remember just from memory correctly. And some of the highlights that are covered in the book, and I'm going to cheat because it's written right here on the back that you can't see, but I can when I do this. How Leonard Nimoy was spirited out of a hotel, and William Shatner past thousands of adoring fans. Why Nichelle Nichols made Joan Winston cry. The Saturday Night Riot. Jimmy Doohan giving security guards cardiac arrest. Losing George Takei, and then finding him, and then losing him again. Why I needed 3 fans to bring DeForest Kelley a quart of orange juice. This book is a wonderful book. It is the story behind those conventions, complete with catastrophes, calamities, hilarious and heartwarming stories. It's everything a 1970s fan would want to know about their favorite TV series and stars at the time, and how a handful of fans came together to create the convention phenomena that exists to this very day. And Miss Joan Winston, she was there from the very beginning. Now, the book has quite a few photographs, all unpublished at the time, of course, because they belong to Joan Winston or some of the convention people that took private photographs at the conventions, including one photograph in 1974 of Nichelle Nichols and a very young David Gerald. If you have any videos, photos, or documents that you would like to donate to us, please feel free to send them to Jim at trek-world.com. or submit them via the web at submit.trek-world.com. Now, there is a name that Star Trek fans are familiar with from Gen 1, Oscar Katz. I'm sure you remember him. He was like a VP of Desilu or something. There's that one famous photograph of Vina with her makeup on carrying the sign saying, "Oscar, where are you?" Because they always expected him to be on the set, but they could never find him. But Joan found him. And in 1973, she had him join her to con as they introduced Genesis 2. And here is a photograph of Oscar Katz and Joan Winston. It's the only photograph of Oscar I remember seeing. So I recommend you go get this book. Again, like I said, you can probably pick it up for under $10. It's one of the few books in the 1970s that was written for a reason other than let's just make money off of Star Trek. Joan had a story to tell, and it's a heck of a story.